Alright, you guys, we have a lot to talk about today, like a lot. I was gonna make a video yesterday on this, but then I noticed that more tweets came through, and then I was like, okay, maybe I should wait. And then today, even more tweets came through. So I probably have like 2 or 3 whole Twitter threads of Paralives behind the scenes stuff that just seems so interesting. I know not everyone's gonna be interested in this video, but if you are, sit back and relax, because we have a big video today. Grab some snacks, go grab a drink, grab lemonade, something, because I have a feeling this is probably going to end up being 15 to 20 minutes long. Who knows though? Alright, so we kick things off with a Twitter thread from Anna Paralives, one of the developers, more specifically programmer on the Paralives team. She tweets, "Hi, hope you liked our little video from yesterday." I don't know if you guys have seen it, but they basically revealed that picture frames are like fully customizable, and you can even like upload your own pictures into the game and put them into frames. Like, it seriously looks so awesome. If you haven't checked that out, definitely recommend that you check that out. But she continues, "I am back today for serious animation talk." So it looks like we're going into some behind the scenes in terms of animation on Paralives. Remember on Monday, we talked a bit about how crucial the logic is in our animation system and how trivial actions need plenty of thinking? Well, it was only the start. Today, I'm talking a bit about procedural animations. I keep reading that word. I saw that word in one of the job postings for EA's Sims 5 game, but I still don't understand what that is. But I guess in this thread, we're going to find out what it is and how it works. Beware, procedural animations is a very generic term to describe an animation that is generated in real time instead of being pre-recorded. It can encompass a lot of things like ragdoll physics, fluid or hair simulation, but we're not talking about that today. In our case, we use procedural animations not to replace a whole technique, but as a complementary method. We still start from the standard keyframed animations I show you on Monday. So I am familiar with keyframes. I do that when I edit my videos and such. That's not too hard for me to wrap my mind around, but all the animation and physics stuff, that definitely goes way over my head. I also really like this like in-depth behind the scenes stuff. Like, do you guys like this stuff too? Like, the Sims team does it sometimes with those blog posts, but they don't do it as often as they did. They've kind of been quiet with that, but I hope that we get more like in-depth looks at like the packs and how they're created and stuff, because I love what the Paralives team is doing here with this. Alice's animations can be attached to a character and be played as it is thanks to a simple script. However, it cannot adapt to different surroundings by itself. You may start to see where I'm going with this. In Paralives, we want both characters and environments to be as customizable as possible, which brings us to a whole new level of adaptation of the animations. Let's take my current struggle as an example. Sitting. A simple, non-procedural way of looking at this would be to always constrain the furniture to be the same height so that the same animation can be reused as is, shown in the GIF below. However, our goal is to allow for a lot of customization options without removing any gameplay possibilities. We want furniture of various heights and widths. We want an extended mod support. We want to sit everywhere. We want a height slider, cries in programmer. Yeah, it's like, we really want those things. You know, we want height sliders, and thankfully we're getting it, but it's just going to cost more time and more resources and more money to animate that sort of thing into the game. Because when you think about it, if you make a sim or a para a different height, that also means the clothes are going to fit different. That means that every single animation has to basically be redone for each level of height on each life stage. So the amount of animations that will have to be created for that are going to be extremely high. Like, it is going to be a lot of animating and programming. It's going to take a lot of time and resources for that. A first, in quotes, secure step for all of this is for Alice to create a minimal amount of different animations. One for sitting on the floor, one on a medium high chair or platform, and one on a higher platform. So that's another thing. Sitting on surfaces or chairs or whatever that have different heights will require different animations for that, because they're completely different objects at different heights. So it's gonna take more animating for that. It doesn't have anything to do with procedural animations, but it's a necessary base to which we'll add the fancy adaptation. The animations are attached to our base 3D model and with standard size props. Here are they. So you can see the sim or para character character model, whatever you want to call it, when it sits on a counter versus sitting on the floor or sitting in a chair, it requires a completely different animation. On the counter, they basically have to climb up. On the floor, they crouch down and kneel down, you know, and sit down, whether it's crisscross applesauce or if there's another way. And then sitting in a chair is basically just like regular sitting. So it's three completely different things, and that takes a lot of programming and a lot of animating. It's seriously a lot of work, guys. Like, a lot is going into this behind the scenes. And we obviously know that the Paras will be able to sit on the countertops because we saw in the Sebastian video, Sebastian is sitting on the countertop. So that's 100% in the game. And it continues, we still use different base animations because there are limits to what we can do with procedural animations. As Alice is here, it's better if she can do most of the movement herself so that it's the smoothest possible. That doesn't solve our main problem yet. It can adapt to 3 different heights, but what about everything in between? To have a more visual understanding of what the problems are, let's import these animations into Unity and check what it looks like on different chairs. Yes, so keep in mind that let's just take out, you know, counters, let's take out sitting on the floor, laying on the floor, crisscross applesauce, all of that, who cares? Let's remove all of that from the equation. Let's just talk about regular chairs. For each chair that has a different height, you have to make a completely different animation for that. And think, what if it's a chair that's on a foundation so that it sits even higher up, like that one model on the very far right? That's gonna cause you to clip through the chair basically. So then new animations have to be done so that they actually kind of jump up on it and then their legs dangle in front, if that makes sense. There's a lot that goes into this. Did you spot the problems? Our character is clipping through the red chair a little bit higher than the reference, while the green and blue ones lower makes it look like they're sitting in the air. See, I didn't even notice that. I literally didn't even notice that. I thought all those other chairs that, you know, aren't the red chair were the same height, but now after taking a closer look at it, the blue and green ones are lower. So it looks like they're just floating in the air. So it's like new animations have to be made for all of these. After this very quick test, I typically document it and sketch out some ideas to solve it. Here, I'm thinking about keeping the same animations, sit on chair and sitting on chair, but adapting the hips positions like this. In the picture, it shows problem number 1, clipping because, you know, the chair or the source is too high. You can see that in the diagram shown. And problem number 2 is air sitting. You're too low. There's too much space between the chair and the tushy or the bottom of your para or model. Just trying to incorporate a little bit of fun into this. Anna then finishes the thread. I'll show you if it worked this afternoon. See you there. I love this. Do you guys love this too? Like, this is seriously so cool. And yes, there are more threads. I'm going to get into them next. All right, we got more. This one was from yesterday afternoon. Hello again. Let's put our hands into procedural animations for real. Let's do this. One of my first tests to solve the sitting problem was to take procedural control over the hips of the character. Here is a first draft at a procedural target, the little red box, that the hips will eventually be able to reach. So basically what you have to do is you basically drag the body down so that you close that gap between the butt and the legs and the top of the chair, but now look at the feet. The feet are now clipping through the floor. So then I guess you have to adjust the feet, either kick them out or move them up and do something that I guess looks and flows naturally in the game. Well, it surely proves that hips can be adapted to different chairs, but the feet now clip through the floor, exactly what I said. The reason for this is that the body parts in a character are described as a hierarchy, which is called a skeleton in blue. The hips are the very top part of this hierarchy, meaning that everything else has moved along with it, including the feet. As I'd like my feet to stay planted into the floor, I'm adding 2 other procedural targets on the feet to make them stay still. So basically your sim is just doing squats. I love this. This is so cool to learn about it. It's also kind of funny too, just to see them like clicking on the model, sim or para, whatever you want to call it, and just dragging them around. Like, it looks like they're doing squats. They're like going up and down. Not me getting a hiccup in the middle of my laugh. Oh my gosh. All right, in the GIFs above, you can see me moving around targets on my Unity test scene, but ultimately a script will do it while the sit animation is playing. You can see that another problem remains, which I didn't anticipate: the arms. Poor characters see their arms clip into their own thighs. That must hurt or just stay in the air. I'm not against a good arm workout, but it doesn't feel really natural. See, look, even they're working to make sure that there's as little clipping in this game as possible. That is seriously so exciting. One solution could be to also adapt the arms and make them always join their thighs through a body target. However, that only solves the main idle sitting position. What will happen if the character is sitting with their knees very close and try to read, eat, or whatever animation that could be played while sitting? It would probably require other adaptations that are specific to each animation. Exactly, like I said, it adds to the list of issues. There are seriously so many things. We have to think about a generic solution that can adapt to more cases. It's better if we have less things to adapt. It saves time and resources, but it also prevents us from forgetting about a specific case that could break the system and that we haven't anticipated. As procedural animations is used to complement a real, in quotes, handmade animation, it's also better if we're not trying to work too much, in quotes, against it. That's the main challenge with this process, how to balance the smoothness of Alice's animations and the robotic procedural adaptation. Back to our problem, the main issue is clearly the angle of the legs with the rest of the body. When the chair is lower than standard, if we keep it at 90 degrees, we wouldn't have to think about adapting the upper animations. So solution 1, adapt hips and feet position. Obviously you can see grabbing the butt, dragging it up and down, but now look, there's clipping with the arms happening in the legs. So now you have to create a new target basically. New solution number 2 is keep 90-degree angle. I love this. This is so cool. Paralives team, if you're watching this, Anna, if you're watching this, this is some awesome stuff. You guys should keep doing this. I love this. I love learning about it. And I mean, the wait for this game is going to be long. We know that. And keeping us like informed with what you guys are doing and how it works kind of is the entertainment that we need right now, because I'm not too entertained by The Sims right now, if I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm more intrigued about this stuff. As I don't feel like putting the feet in front of the chairs are a really good solution, I asked Alice if she could come up with an alternative sitting pose that follows this constraint so that it looks more natural and takes less space. Let's see if my idea is possible. This alternative looks way more practical than the other, as the hands don't look like they need a lot of adaptation. It still needs a lot of polishing though. Note, also time to remind you that everything is work in progress and definitely not final. Yeah, I would hope that people understood that, or, you know, collected that themselves. I really hope that people didn't think this was the final product. No. My next step this afternoon will be to test these adaptations during the, in quotes, sit animation instead of tweaking the, in quotes, sitting idle pose only. So that's all for today with today's threads. I hope that you got a first glimpse at what cases of procedural animations we're dealing with. It's a wonderful tool to use, but it still needs some thinking. See you tomorrow for new procedural shenanigans. I love this, guys. This is so freaking cool. Come on now, I can't be the only one that loves this. Like, I can't be the only one that loves this. What do you guys think about this? Do you guys like this kind of stuff too? All right, we have another thread now. This one is from today, March 18th, just this morning at 9 a.m. Keep in mind, it's 4:11 p.m. right now, so there could be another one while I'm recording this. And if it is, I will include it in this video. And if not, I'll probably upload it tomorrow or some other time. Hi geeks, today I'm going to show you another simpler case of procedural animation that doesn't depend on the environment this time, but more of the height of the characters. As always, this week's animations and procedural tests are very early work in progress, nothing is final. Second warning, the gifs you're about to see in this thread are recorded in a COVID-free virtual environment. Please don't high-five someone without washing your hands and follow the public health guidance for social distancing. I love that. I love that. I love that. With that said, let me show you the very first instance of a social interaction in Paralives. This looks cool. Yes, it's early in development. Yes, it does look kind of stiff, but keep in mind, this is a work in progress. They're early in development, but still, this is exciting. This looks so cool. Well, you know, they tried. That doesn't mean they aren't friends. Our problem is quite straightforward this time. Hands have to meet somewhere between the two characters. To solve this, we need to take a bit of control over the hand, just like we did yesterday with the feet and the hips. By the way, the specific technique that we use for arms and legs targets is called, in quotes, inverted inverse kinematics. I hope I said that right. It allows a hand to reach a target procedurally, while the rest of the arm has somewhat of a credible movement. I'm not gonna annoy you with the details here, but I figured it was a widely used term, so maybe you'll be interested in seeing what it is. Procedural thingies are added on top of the existing animation, so you should see the idle animation playing here, only the arm is being taken over. All right, let's high five procedurally now. As I said previously, the main problem is making hands meet in the middle. We could also think about adapting the head and the eyes so that both characters face each other, but it's not my priority right now. Today I'll try to include these procedural targets to the animation in itself, rather than test it with a single pose. I want the target to have an incremental effect during the animation and to be reached completely when both hands should meet. The meeting target will be computed only once before the animation. Its position won't change during the animation, it'll only change its in quotes weight, which is like a in quotes percentage of reaching the target. 0% equals no adaptation, 100% equals exact target met. Okay, so this is starting to make sense to me now. Here is what it looks like when I'm trying to play with this weight. Isn't it crazy to think that if you have pairs of different heights, you basically have to make an animation for each possibility? Like if you have two tall paras, two short paras, one tall para, one short para, and then if you reverse them and the other para is the tall one, the other para is the short one, then you have to make a new animation for that. That's so much freaking programming. I don't know how they're doing it. Like, this is so much work. I seriously applaud them. That's why I keep saying, you guys, if you have extra money, if you can, support them on Patreon, because they are doing boss work. Like, they really are. We don't want the target to be met during the whole movement, as characters have to start with both arms along their bodies. This is why I'll only change the weight of the target during the animation, and I want them to reach a perfect match when the hands clap. After I added a bit of code to change the weight automatically during the animation, here is what it looks like. This test animation was a quick draft. It's definitely not finished yet and far from perfect, but the procedural part is encouraging. As I said previously, it's better to work with a draft animation or poses at first so we can think about what to do procedurally without being lost in a complex movement. There are also still plenty of things for us to think about, like if a very small kid tries to high-five a very tall adult, like I said a minute ago, what should happen? Should there be a jumping and a high-five animation on the kid's side, or would the adult crouch to adapt? I think that animations should be made for both of those things and then just have them happen at random or make them completely separate interactions. That would be so cool to have variations of the same interaction in the same animation, so you aren't seeing the same thing over and over again every time you play the game. You click and you're like, oh my god, he high-fived this time, and you click it again 10 minutes later and the adult crouches down. It's like, whoa, it's something completely new. I love that. That would be so cool. These last examples would require new base animations and states, like crouching or jumping, that could be reused for plenty of other kids to adults interactions. I'm going to document these thoughts this morning to keep track of our tests. That will be all for this morning. After lunch, I'll talk a bit about modding. So it looks like we have one more thread, you guys, and then we're gonna end the video. Don't worry. I know this video is super long. I apologize, but remember, you can pause it and you can stop and you can come back at any time. This video will always be here, I promise. All right, next thread, 2:50 p.m., so just 2 hours ago. Now that I showed a big part of my current test and work for the animation system, let me tell you about another level of complexity that Paralives demands: the modding tools. Oh, I'm so excited for this. Sorry, no work in progress gifts this time, as the modding UI isn't showable yet. As Paralives is a community-centered game, we want it to be easily moddable. To do so, we're implementing the mod tools at the same time as the gameplay features themselves. Yes, work on them together. Oh my god, this game is going to be so good, guys. It's going to be so good. Okay, I need to calm down. This game is probably years from release. I'm sitting over here getting so excited and freaking out over what? Like, I need to chill. This is embarrassing. To do so, we're implementing the mod tools at the same time as the gameplay features themselves. Our game is actually a mod itself. This allows our own artists to integrate their assets into the game using the in-game modding interface that should ultimately be available to players instead of going through Unity. Oh yes, animations are no exceptions to this process. A A mod tool that I'm in the process of making these days is about linking new animations to actions or chunks of actions in the game. That's not as simple as it looks like, as it has to do with a whole other system that I haven't talked about, the action system. What I mean by that in a few words: add interactions to objects or characters, link them each to a list of animations, tell which actions can be combined, for example, eating plus sitting yes, swimming plus eating no, tell the order in which they should be played and the props they're using. For now, we have a very dumb pathfinding and action system, but as it's very closely linked to the animation, I'm slowly improving that too. Another thing I have to think about integrating to the mods tools is the whole procedural animation magic. Every red box that you saw on my previous tweets will be controlled by the code in real time rather than the animator, Alice, or maybe future you. So you're telling me they're basically gonna make it easy for us, the community, and the modding community specifically, to make custom modded animations for the game? They're actually going to go out of their way to make it easy for modders to add animations. That is so freaking cool. That's what I'm collecting from this. I could be wrong, but that's just what I'm gathering. It means that it's not enough to just plug your custom animation clip in. You'll probably have to deal with some procedural shenanigans yourself. Don't worry, animators who want to integrate their custom clips aren't required to know how to code to deal with that. We're aiming for a very user-friendly interface with visual and keyframing features so that they won't be pushed too far from a regular animation software. So yeah, it looks like they are gonna basically give us a head start, or give modders a head start. I don't want to categorize myself as a modder. I'm not there yet. I'm still learning, but I plan to make mods and custom content very, very soon. I'm always keeping the mod tools in mind when I'm testing procedural animations and actions. We have to think in the most generic way so that every case can be covered and that hopefully no script is needed to mod a new animation in. We'll also be able to add, remove, or modify gameplay features and settings in a quicker way during playtests. Oh, that's awesome. A quick poll for fun: who here could be interested in making or downloading mods for Paralives? Like I said earlier, I'm looking into creating mods myself. I definitely see myself as a future creator, but as of right now, I am not a creator. I am not for The Sims, but maybe sometime in the future. So I'm gonna select I'm a future creator from this poll. Out of the 171 votes, a majority of players voted I'll add mods to my game. And surprisingly, a lot of people prefer vanilla. That ends my technical threads of the week. I'll answer some questions tomorrow, so don't hesitate to ask anything related to this week's tweets. I hope this week of day-to-day tasks brought to light why something can stay in the background for a long time before being revealed in a public video. Our videos are really just the tip of the development iceberg. Exactly, and that's why I'm glad that they're sharing this, because a lot of people are like, what happened to Paralives? They haven't shared any progress. We still haven't seen the gameplay. And it's like, they're still working on it. This stuff takes a long time. On the contrary to the latter production phases, when we'll know better how many assets we need to make or how many bugs we'll need to fix before release, this background research and design phase is not easy to predict. A lot of things could go wrong, needing us to rethink the system. It's why we have an iterative process, making draft poses and testing the hell out of them before polishing and showing anything. A lot of things could go well too, but we can't know before testing. Bye, geeks. All right, that's it, guys. That was a lot to read, and I did that all on no water whatsoever, in a clean sweep. Before editing, this video is at 32 minutes right now, but I'm probably gonna cut down a lot of stuff. But let me know what you think about this. Share your thoughts down below. Do you like these deep dives? Do you love this in-depth, early look at animations and modding tools in Paralives? Let me know in the comments. If you want more stuff like this, let me know, and I will update you guys as soon as I get new info. You guys know I love updating you on all this stuff. I'll see you guys next time. So long, and happy simming and paraliving. Bye, guys.